Welcome to IHA's webinar, Hydropower Status Report 2020. Thank you for tuning in. This is Samuel Law, analyst from IHA and your host for today's webinar. You may send your question at any time during the webinar. Simply type your questions in the question pane on the control panel. We will collect the questions and answer them during the Q&A session. Before we get started, I would like to briefly introduce IHA. We are a non-profit organization with a network of members and partners active in more than 120 countries. Currently, IHA membership operates more than 450 gigawatts of capacity. Our mission is to advance sustainable hydropower by building and sharing knowledge on hydropower's role in renewable energy system, responsible freshwater management, and climate change solutions. For more information on our work, you may want to check our annual report available online. Our members include hydropower developers, equipment suppliers, consultancies, and research institutes. I'm glad that today we are joined by many of you at this webinar. We also work with international partners, including development banks, research institutes, NGOs, and governments to highlight the role of sustainable hydropower in the clean energy system. IHA is actively preparing publications, workshops, webinars, and events to help you get the right information and meet the right people. The biannual World Hydropower Congress is the most important event for the sector, where experts and decision makers come together and shape the future of hydropower. The next Congress is scheduled in 2021 and will be co-hosted by Costa Rica, a country that has achieved nearly 100% renewable and a prime example of renewables working together. We have also introduced Hydropower Pro, an online platform that includes forum, membership directory, and networking opportunities for people from across the world, even during this global lockdown. Sustainability is at the core of our mission, and we aim to help everyone make the right decisions. Aligned with World Bank and IFC standard, the hydropower sustainability tools defines good practice and provide common language for various stakeholders to discuss and evaluate sustainability issues, which is crucial for access green finance. We now offer training and assessment online to accommodate this global lockdown. The Hydropower Status Report is a flagship publication that summarizes our global trends and statistics for the sector. In today's webinar, we'll go through the highlights and findings of this report. We'll begin with a global overview, followed by sector trends and regional updates. And we'll discuss the impact of COVID-19, to be followed by a Q&A session. Please note that this presentation is also available online, and we'll very much welcome you to use it in your own work. We hope that you will find it useful. Now entering its 7th edition, the 2020 Hydropower Status Report is published during the COVID-19 pandemic and released in May 2020. This can allow us to reflect the changes and impact on the hydropower sector. Here we have a global overview of the sector by the end of 2019. In this year, the world has reached 1,308 gigawatts of hydropower installed capacity, of which 15.6 gigawatt was added, reflecting a 1.2% increase on 2018. However, compared with the increase in 2018, that was 21.8 gigawatt. The 15 gigawatt is considerably smaller. For generation, total hydropower generation in this year has accounted for 4,306 terawatt-hour, reflecting a 2.5% increase in generation. If this 4,000 terawatt-hour of clean energy generation from hydropower was replaced by burning coal, we would have emitted an additional 10% greenhouse gases. that is 4 billion tons of greenhouse gases in 2019. This graph shows the global breakdown of hydropower installed capacity. China is still leading the world in total installed capacity at 356 gigawatts. This is followed by Brazil, United States, Canada, and India. If we look at total hydropower capacity and generation developed by regions, it's very clear that East Asia and the Pacific remains the largest, with total installed capacity at 487 gigawatts and generation at 1,594 terawatt-hour. This is followed by Europe and North and Central America, respectively. In comparison, the smallest is the African continent, with only 37 gigawatts installed capacity, and almost 90% of the continent's hydropower potential has not been exploited. On a regional level, majority of the greenfield capacity was added in East Asia and Latin America, whereas in comparison, for Europe and North America, majority of the projects are modernization and refurbishment, resulting in less capacity added. If we break down new hydropower installed capacity by country, a total of 50 countries has added new capacity last year. The countries with the highest installed capacities were Brazil at 4.92 gigawatts, China at 4.17 gigawatts, and Laos at 1.89 gigawatts. All of these countries have major project completions. For example, in Brazil, it was the 11 233 megawatt Belomento project that became fully operational, whereas in Laos it is the Saraburi 1285 megawatt project, and in China the Wudongdong 990 megawatt project. Pump storage, also known as burst water battery, is another major focus of our statistics. Pump storage is still currently estimated to be the largest grid-scale energy storage application. However, its role in energy storage is not well understood by the wider energy community. IHA is working to highlight how hydro and pump storage can provide flexibility and storage services to complement other renewables. In 2019, the worldwide pump storage capacity only grew by 304 megawatts, which is considerably slower than previous years. This is mostly due to delay in projects in China. However, more and more countries have shown interest in developing pump storage around the world. IHA is currently working with US Department of Energy to establish an international forum on pump storage hydropower, a government-led platform to enhance and shape the role of pump storage in future power systems. Its official launch is in coming months, and we'll invite you to participate very soon. Here we see hydropower installed capacity growth for 2015 to 2019 for a 5-year period. You can see clearly that in the earlier years, hydropower grew more rapidly, and in 2019, the annual growth rate was only 1.2%. Noting that annual growth in installed capacity can vary quite a bit, as it depends on whether major hydropower projects get online. However, to reach the 2050 climate targets, the annual average growth rate is estimated to be 2.0% on average. And this reflects the fact that hydropower investment need to increase considerably more in the coming decades in order to reach this climate target. So we had an overview of global hydropower statistics Now let's move on to the sector trends. One of the most obvious sector trend is the rise of renewable plus storage model. So growing evidence of research has indicated solar and wind, variable renewable energy combined with storage, are cheaper alternatives to fossil fuels. So in 2019, the Australia's National Science Research Agency and the Australian Energy Market Operator has released a draft report that indicate variable renewable energy plus storage is among the cheapest forms of low carbon option, and they can already beat coal, gas, and nuclear on a cost base. The report also indicated that pumped storage has a distinct competitive advantage in longer duration energy storage applications, and pumped storage is likely one of the technology that will benefit from the increased competitiveness of wind and solar PV generation, which create demands for system balancing technologies. And in one of the most obvious real-world example is in India, where the hybrid solar and wind with storage policy has included pumped storage in hybrid projects. And in India, it has held the world's largest renewables plus storage tender, with one of the winner is a 900 megawatt pumped storage power plant paired with wind and solar. Another very obvious sector trend is the use of large-scale cross-border interconnection for complementarity generations of large-scale renewables. It was already observed in Southeast Asia, for example, in Laos and Thailand, whereas a new study published in Nature Sustainability has also mapped the potential for solar wind water complementary for West Africa. The study showed that with coordinated expansion of solar, wind, and cross-border transmission lines, hydropower in West Africa can support a substantial integration of variable renewable energy and avoid natural gas consumption. The study showed that by 2030, renewable electricity in such regional power pool, with hydropower contributing around half of the generation and another half from solar and wind, could be 10% cheaper than electricity from natural gas. And in this estimation, there's no need for large-scale chemical battery or other storage, as hydropower has already provided the flexibility required. Apart from scientific research, new international collaborations was also forming. One of the major international collaboration is at the International Renewable Energy Agency, also known as ARENA. The government of Switzerland, together with IHA, the World Bank, and Norway, co-organized a ministerial plenary session on hydropower at the 9th ARENA General Assembly. So this has resulted in a proposal from Switzerland to establish an ARENA collaborative framework on hydropower to steward the cost of hydropower in ARENA. And more than 40 member countries supported the initiative. The first kick-off meeting was held recently in June. The group will aim to provide a global platform for the dialogue, cooperation, and coordinated action between various stakeholders, the hydropower sector, and policymakers, in addressing opportunities and challenges in hydropower development. Its work will also feed back into the ongoing work of the agency. Another major international collaboration was at the European level. The European Commission has recently launched the 18 million initiative Hydropower Extending Power System Flexibility, also known as XFlex Hydro. The project is being delivered by a consortium of 19 partners, including utilities, manufacturers, universities, and consultancies, and it's being led by EPFL. XFlex Hydro will last for 4 years, and demonstrations are planned at 7 hydropower stations in Europe, covering pump storage, reservoir storage, and run-of-river hydro. The project will showcase innovative technologies including smart digital controls, enhanced variable and fixed-speed turbines, as well as battery hybrid. For the hydropower sector, a new guidance was released in 2019 to strengthen climate resilience. The hydropower sector climate resilience guide was launched at the COP25 United Nations Climate Conference in Madrid, highlighting the need for capacity building and prepare for climate change for hydropower, climate resilience, and adaptation. It's supported by EBRD, the World Bank, and Korea Green Growth Trust Fund, and aiming to ensure the long-term operational viability of new and existing assets. IHA led the development of this guidance, and it incorporates climate resilience measures into project planning, design, and operations. The new guideline also positioned hydropower ahead of other renewable energies in adapting to climate change. More recently, a new guideline has been developed for indigenous peoples' consent. The Hydropower Sustainability Assessment Council, a multi-stakeholder group of social and environmental NGOs, industry, governments, and financial institutions, has released a new guideline to give increased confidence to local communities and investors that hydropower can be successfully developed while respecting indigenous peoples' land, rights, and cultures. Projects achieving free prior informed consent, also known as FPIC, of affected indigenous people will now be recognized as meeting international good practice in sustainable hydropower development, according to an updated hydropower assessment sustainability tools. FPIC is a principle recognized by the UN Declaration on Rights of Indigenous People and a condition of performance standard issued by the World Bank and IFC. For more information, you may check hydropowersustainability.org. From international trends, let's move on to regional updates. In North and Central America region, the top three countries with new installed capacities were Guatemala at 58 MW, Honduras at 7.6 MW, as well as the United States at 7.6 MW. These are considerably smaller when compared with other regions. However, it's still worth noting that in the United States alone, there's 50 gigawatts of untapped hydropower potential, including 30 gigawatts of pump storage potential. Many of them are off-river. In Canada, hydropower remains a dominant source of electricity supply, representing 61% of total electricity generation and 55% of total installed capacity. In Mexico, it emphasized the need for public energy generation and an increase in hydropower installed capacity by modernizing existing infrastructure. In the Caribbean region, it has some of the most highest electricity charge in the world. These countries are aiming to increase renewable energy generation, for example from hydro, wind, and solar, to decrease dependence on fossil fuels imports. In South America, the top 5 countries by installed capacity added in 2019 are Brazil, Colombia, Bolivia, Chile, and Peru. However, only Brazil has exceeded more than 100 MW, with 4,919 MW is clearly leading the region in new hydropower development. Brazil has also surpassed China as the largest single contributor of new capacity in 2019. This is mainly attributed to the completion of the Belo Monte hydropower project. The region is moving to a more diversified regional renewable hydropower electricity mix, especially in the southern cone countries. with rapidly increased capacity from wind projects. The development of long-distance high-voltage interconnection is also on top of the agenda to strengthen energy security in the Andean subregion. Across Europe, the top 5 countries by new installed capacities were Turkey at 219 MW, followed by Norway 134 MW, followed by Italy, Serbia, and Spain, all of them less than 100 MW. Across Europe, its power mix has continued to reduce carbon intensity with less coal generation during the year, and there is rising output from solar, wind, and gas. Hydropower capacity remained largely stable across the continent, and it was featured in several policy and planning updates during the year, including the investment guidance published as part of the EU taxonomy for sustainable finance. Utilities continue to invest in hydropower modernization and refurbishment programs. Pump storage is also high on the agenda, with increasing focus on the need of flexible grid service, including storage and flexibility to support new renewable energy systems. However, hydropower potential in the Balkans has faced environmental opposition, particularly where proposed schemes are in sensitive and protected areas. In Africa, the top 5 countries by new installed capacity during the year was Angola, Uganda, Ethiopia, Cameroon, and Malawi. They add up a total of 906 megawatts of new installed capacity. Hydropower remains the region's main renewable energy source, with 37 gigawatts of installed capacity. However, only 11% of the continent's total hydropower potential has been utilized. Africa has been one of the highest untapped potential in the world. Although Africa produced only 2% of the global energy-related CO2 emissions, climate change is going to hit Africa the hardest and also impacting hydropower generation. Over 60% of the hydropower installed capacity in Africa is over 20 years old. Hence, modernization will be a key to improving access to clean and renewable energy in Africa. With electricity demand expected to triple by 2040, one of the region's priorities is to improve and increase its transmission and distribution assets for electrification. For South and Central Asia, the top 5 countries by new installed capacities were Bhutan at 720 MW, Tajikistan at 600 MW, Russia at 462 MW, Nepal 175 MW, and India 154 MW. The region's total new installed capacities add up to 2.3 GW, including both greenfield and modernization projects. Over the past 5 years, the region's annual hydropower capacity growth has been averaged at 2%, in line with global average. The largest project commissioned last year was the 720 MW Manduchu project in Bhutan, funded by the Indian government. The project will supply electricity to both domestic market as well as any surplus to India. Another major focus is that the Indian government has announced a raft of measures to support hydropower development, including declaring large hydro larger than 25 MW officially a renewable energy source, which will enable new large hydro projects to benefit from the non-solar renewable purchase obligation that mandates regional power utilities to purchase a portion of their electricity from hydropower. Finally, moving to East Asia and the Pacific, is the region with the largest new installed capacity in 2019. The top 5 countries by new capacity were China at 4.17 GW, Laos at 1.89 GW, followed by Indonesia 143 MW, Malaysia, and Vietnam. For China, is still the regional leader in hydropower development. Pump storage only grew by 300 megawatts in the year. This is due to a temporary pause on new pump storage projects, but it has been resumed after the COVID crisis. For Laos, it's the second highest with new added capacity. This includes the 1,020 295 megawatt Saraburi and 207 megawatt Lam Yep 1 project that will export power to Thailand. In addition, the 260 megawatt Dong Sahon project will export power to Cambodia. Retrofitting floating solar on hydropower reservoir is also gaining momentum across Southeast Asia, with new projects planned and built in Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, and Cambodia. For Cambodia, one of the major developments is that it has announced it will not pursue new hydropower development on the mainstream Mekong River, but is still studying the potential for hydropower on tributaries. In Australia, the state of Tasmania has announced a 200% renewable generation target for 2040 and aims to become a net exporter of renewable energy to the rest of Australia. The COVID-19 pandemic has a devastating impact across the world. Once the worst of health crisis has passed, it's vitally important that stimulus package will also allow transition to cleaner and low-carbon technologies and infrastructures. IHA has set out a position paper in accompany with the status report to set out the immediate impact of the crisis on the hydropower sector, looking at how developers and operators have responded, and outline how hydropower-specific recommendations can help assist governments and international financial institutions as they plan for a economic recovery after the crisis. First, let's look at the immediate impacts on hydropower sector. The global lockdown and social distancing measures has disrupted supply chains and prevented workers to arrive on site. Hence, many projects were delayed. There's also a significant drop in overall electricity demand and prices in many markets. As compared with the previous year's statistics, in the European Union, a 15% drop was observed, in India 90%, and in the US 6%. Government programs and policies has also been delayed. For example, in Australia, the Grid Reliability Fund underwriting new generation investment program has been delayed. The exchange rate volatility has also put pressure on international developers and utilities, as many projects are overseas. There is also falling confidence across the sector, as highlighted by IHA's recent survey. On how the hydropower sector has responded to this crisis, on an operator and utilities level, hydropower operators has successfully implemented business continuity plans to help keep the lights on and support essential services. They have also donated medical supplies and support local communities in this crisis. On a global scale, we can observe that the global decline in electricity demand has led to a surge of renewables curtailment in the US, UK, and other countries with negative pricing events. This is despite that hydropower generation has increased in many markets, as hydropower played a role as a source of system flexibility and balancing. This is the most evident in India, as they held the 9-minute vigil in solidarity with frontline workers. Hydropower successfully managed the 31 gigawatt load drop during that 9 minutes. As IEA head Fatih Birol has recently stated, the demand drop has fast-forwarded some power system 10 years into the future with a greater need of system flexibility. The paper also outlined how hydropower can support the economic recovery from this crisis. Sustainable hydropower should be an essential part of the energy transition and wider development strategy to help kickstart its economic recovery. Where possible, fast-track planning procedures and also have shovel-ready modernization projects so that they can commence as soon as possible and provide local employment benefits. Governments should provide appropriate financial support and also extend any construction or program deadlines for projects that have been delayed during the crisis. We should also recognize the multiple benefits provided by hydropower. For example, in many countries, hydropower reservoirs have provided water supply for essential services during the crisis, and appropriate compensation mechanism should be developed. Finally, all stakeholders should increase the ambition of renewable energy and climate targets in the coming future. So here comes to the question and answer session. We have received quite a few questions. The first question is on the International Forum on Pump Storage Hydropower, and I'm pleased to answer this question. So the Pump Storage Forum is a government-led platform with the US Department of Energy supporting, and we have also been supported by the Swiss government. And we are inviting further countries with international with development on pump storage to join this platform. There are 6 key activities in the Pump Storage Forum. First is to understand pump storage role in enabling a successful clean energy transition through the provision of storage. The second is the understanding of pump storage capabilities, value, and cost in addressing future system needs. The fifth is the full value of pump storage in wider water services and agricultural and flood defense services. And the fourth is to provide guidance and tools to support the design of market and policies that can appropriately compensate and incentivize pump storage development across the world. The fifth is to support the research and development of pump storage technologies, and also with the complementary technologies to enhance pump storage. And the sixth objective is to ensure that all new pump storage development will be sustainable and aligned with good ESG good practice. And we are proud to announce that the Pump Storage Forum will be officially launched after the first steering committee meeting to be held next month in July. And we'll be very happy to share further updates to the forum with all of you and invite all of you to participate in this forum. So another question that we have received is that we've mentioned a slowdown of hydropower installed capacity. So what is the view for growth over the coming years? So regarding this, despite the slowdown of new installed capacity in recent years, as well, is also impacted by the COVID crisis as projects will be delayed. However, as social distancing measures have eased, this project has been put back in place. Also, new projects has started, for example, in China to help stimulate the economy. In the next 5 years, we can see another peak in new hydropower capacity, actually. For example, in China, there are mega hydropower projects. For example, CTG's Wudongde at 10 gigawatts and Baihetan at 16 gigawatts on the Jinsha River, as well as Yalong Hydro's Lanhe 3 gigawatt project and Yangfangkou 1.5 gigawatt project. They will all be commissioned within the next 3 years. So from these Chinese projects alone, we can expect nearly 30 gigawatts of new hydropower capacity in the coming 3 years. And just this month, yesterday actually, the first unit of China's Wudongde has been connected to the grid. So we can see a rebound in hydro capacity in the coming years. So another question is regarding how hydropower modernization could be used to support the economic recovery. Actually, we could illustrate this better with the recently released IEA Sustainable Recovery Plan. So IHA has recently held a meeting with the IEA head, Fatih Birol, a conversation of CEOs and the IEA head to encourage the inclusion of sustainable hydropower in IEA's recovery package. So in IEA's Sustainable Recovery Plan, it outlines an additional $20 billion to be spent each year on hydropower modernization projects in the coming 3 years. So a total of 60 billion years to be spent in the coming 3 years to generate skilled jobs and also help provide a more reliable and flexible hydropower generation to support the power system. The IEA report also recommend to use loan guarantees and preferential loans where available to lower the cost of financing for hydropower projects. And long-term policies such as carbon pricing, capacity market, and enhanced flexibility markets are also mentioned.